Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Joanny. If you're new here, welcome. On today's video, I want to share with you some of my favorite horror films to watch during Halloween season. I love watching horror movies during this time of the year. I mean, any time of the year really, but there's something about October and Halloween that makes it a little more exciting to just relax, grab some food, watch this horror film and just feel scared for a good 90 to 60 minutes. I don't know. So if you're looking to take a break from the classics like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, and you're trying to find something new, I have about 11 recommendations for you to pick from. So with no further ado, here are my favorite horror movies to watch during Halloween season. Starting with Darkness Falls, a horror take on the Tooth Fairy. The movie is about a vengeful spirit that has taken the form of a tooth fairy to exact vengeance on the town that lynched her 150 years earlier. Her only opposition is the only child that ever survived her, who is now an adult and is trying to fight to destroy her. This movie came out in 2003 and I remember watching it and being really scared, and I was just talking about it with one of my friends on how good it was. So if you're interested in streaming Darkness Falls, you can either watch it on Hulu or Amazon Prime. Next we have The Ring. The Ring is actually one of my favorite horror movies. There's actually 3 of them: The Ring 2, and The Rings, which I recently watched on Amazon Prime. But there's nothing like the first one. The first one's always the best. When it first came out, it was such an original idea, even though it was a remake of a Japanese film. The movie came out in 2002, and when it came out, it was described as the scariest movie of the year. The Ring follows a journalist who is investigating a mysterious videotape which seems to cause the death of anyone 1 week to the day after they watch it. You can actually watch the original Japanese version of The Ring, titled Ring, on Shudder. And if you want to watch the American version, which is the one I'm recommending, The Ring, you can stream it on HBO Max, on Amazon Prime, on Google Play, or iTunes. Fast forwarding to a more recent horror film, I am recommending the 2017 remake It Chapter 1 with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. That movie was insane. I watched it twice on theaters, and spoiler alert, when Pennywise killed little Georgie, I jumped out of my seat. That was crazy. The movie is based on Stephen King's novel of the same name, and this remake is set in 1998, and it follows a group of bullied kids who band together to destroy a shape-shifting monster which disguises itself as a clown and preys on the children of Derry, their small town in Maine. I've actually never read the novel or saw the original film, so I was not sure what I was getting myself into, which I think is the best way to watch a movie not knowing anything about it. There's actually a sequel, It Chapter 2, which follows the kids as adults. But like I said, there's nothing like the first one. The first one's always the best. So if you want to watch It Chapter 1, you can stream it on Netflix or HBO Max. Next we have another remake, and this movie has been done several different times. It feels like they make it every 5 to 10 years, because there was a recent version of this movie on Netflix this year. But I am recommending the 2003 version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel. I remember watching this movie in theaters and everyone was jumping out of their seats. It has a lot of good scares, and I've seen all the other ones after this one, and this one's by far the best. In this version, a group of 5 friends pick up a traumatized hitchhiker, and after picking him up, they find themselves stalked and haunted by a deformed chainsaw-wielding loon and his family of equally psychopathic killers. So if you want a good scare, I recommend Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the 2003 version with Jessica Biel. You can stream this version on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Redbox, or Apple TV. Next, we're going back in time to a movie that came out in 2002, and that is Ghost Ship. Ghost Ship is a supernatural horror film that tells the story of a salvage crew who discovers a long-lost 1962 passenger ship floating lifeless in a remote region of the Bering Sea. They soon start to notice that the long dead passengers from the ship may still be on board. When it was first released, it received a lot of negative reviews from critics, but sometimes you can't really rely on the critics. I thought it was a good horror film if you're into the supernatural ghost stories. So if you want to watch Ghost Ship, you can stream it on Amazon Prime or Hulu. If you're into zombie films, Train to Busan is a great film to watch. The movie came out in 2016 and it is an action horror film that takes place in a high-speed train. In the movie, the train is going from Seoul to the city of Busan in South Korea as a zombie apocalypse suddenly breaks out in the country and threatens the safety of all passengers on board of the train. It is a story about survival, saving your family, trusting strangers, and fighting zombies. So if you want to stream Train to Busan, you can do so on Netflix or Amazon Prime. The next film I'm recommending came out in 2020 during the pandemic. It was made all on Zoom and it receives a 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes. And that film is Host, which follows a group of friends who get together during lockdown for their weekly Zoom call. During the call, one of them arranged for a medium to conduct a seance. And after one of the girls decides to have a little fun and make up a story about a boy from her school that hung himself, that opened up a doorway for a demonic presence to cross over into their seance, taking on the disguise of the boy in the girl's made-up story. It was an interesting take on the seance type of films because it takes place on Zoom, but I actually thought that added a little more to the film. So if you're interested in streaming Host, you can do so on Shudder. This next film, I had to sleep with the lights on. That's how scared I was after watching this film. If you want to be terrified, watch A24's psychological horror film, Hereditary. The film is about a grieving family who are being haunted by a tragic and disturbing occurrences. Hereditary came out in 2018, and when it came out, it was called the scariest movie of the year. Hereditary stars Toni Collette as a woman reeling from multiple deaths in her household that denigrate her relationship with her teenage son and her husband. Her grieving process leads her to indulge in a desperate seance with this creepy older woman whose motives creep into the center of their family and start tearing them apart. It is a wild 2 hours full of possessions and crazy revelations. So if you want to watch Hereditary, you can do so on Hulu or Amazon Prime. The next horror film is a fairly new horror film that came out in 2021. It is the 4th film in the Candyman franchise, and that is the 2021 supernatural slasher film, Candyman. In this film, they return to the now gentrified Chicago neighborhood where the legend of Candyman began. This film will be a sequel to the 1992 movie of Candyman. If you're not familiar with Candyman, for decades, the housing projects of Chicago's Cabrini Green were terrorized by a ghost story about a supernatural hook-handed killer. Legend goes that if you say his name, Candyman, 3 times while looking at yourself in the mirror, he will appear and kill you. This movie takes place in the present day and it follows an artist who begins to explore the history of Candyman, not knowing it would unravel his sanity and unleash a terrifying wave of violence that puts him on a collision course with destiny. You can stream Candyman on Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, Apple TV, Vudu, or the Roku channel. My next recommendation is the 2004 film Saw, the very first one. There are 9 films in the Saw franchise. Some are better than others, but the first one is the original one and it was brilliant, in my humble opinion. In this film, we follow a photographer, Adam, and an oncologist, Lawrence, as they regain consciousness while chained to pipes at either end of a filthy bathroom. As the 2 men realize that they've been trapped by a sadistic serial killer nicknamed Jigsaw. All while the oncologist's wife and his young daughter are forced to watch his torture via closed-circuit video. That movie was terrifying, and that was another movie I had to sleep with the light on after I watched it. So if you want a good scare, I highly recommend the very first Saw, which you can stream on Amazon Prime. You can rent it on YouTube. It's available on Peacock and also Apple TV. Let's wait for the sirens to go by again. And last but certainly not least, this is another one of my favorite horror films, and that is 13 Ghosts. I love this film. To this day, if I see it playing on TV, I watch it. That's how good it is. 13 Ghosts is a supernatural horror film that came out in 2001. It is a remake of the classic William Castle horror film from 1960, also named 13 Ghosts. The film is about a family that inherits a spectacular state-of-the-art house from an eccentric uncle. There is just one little problem. The house seems to have a dangerous agenda all of its own. Trapped in their new home by strangely shifting walls, the family encounters powerful and vengeful entities that threaten to annihilate anyone in their path. So if you're into ghost story, this is another great one to watch. You can stream 13 Ghosts on Roku or Amazon Prime. And that is my list of the best horror film to watch this October or any other time you want a good scare. If there are any other horror films that I didn't mention that you think are great, please comment down below and share with me and everyone else. And if you enjoyed the video and you would like to support me and the channel, please like and subscribe to the channel, as it will help push this video to more people. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.